Hi guys, so these are the papers that I'm going to be using for this layout, and this is the Sidewalks collection by October Afternoon, and these are the photos that I'm going to be using. And the first thing I'm going to do is trim the labels off of the bottom of these pages. And that's my background paper, and it's a grid. It's a cream colored page with a brown and blue grid on it. And those are the two colors that I'm going to be pulling as the main colors of my layout. So first I'm going to trim this blue paper down to 10.5 by 10.5. And then I'm going to trim this pattern paper down to 10.25 by 10.25. If you hear weird noises in the background, it's my dog. My St. Bernard is a very noisy dog. So I'm laying that out, and I kind of don't really, I'm not sure about the color, so I'm going to decide to change that blue to a different color of brown. So I pull out a piece of paper from Coordinations, and I'm just going to trim that down to take the place of the blue paper. And now I just realized that I trimmed it too small. So I changed my plan, and I'm going to trim the pattern paper down another 1/4 of an inch so that it will mat with the brown piece of paper. And now everything's going to be 1/4 of an inch smaller than I had originally planned. So I'm bringing the blue back in, and I'm going to cut a couple of borders out of it. And I'm going to punch 2 border strips with this Fiskars notebook punch. Abby. So now I'm just kind of laying it out to figure out how I'm going to lay the pieces out on my page. And I realize that my photos are too wide now that I've changed the size of the photo or the page mat. So I trimmed that last photo down a couple of times until it's the right width. And then I use the brown paper to pull in a couple more borders. And now I'm going to trim my border strips down so that they're the right width. Abby! Abby! Abby, no! Sorry, guys. Abby! Okay, so I'm pulling out my craft mat now. And I'm going to ink some paper to stamp on. So I pull out my Distress ink pads. And this is how I store them on a piece of cardstock. And I'm going to use some, what is this called? Vintage Photo Distress ink. And I'm just going to use a piece of paper from this basic gray 6x6 paper pad. And I'm going to distress it so that it's not white. It's antique linen, that's the name of the distress ink. So I'm distressing it with the antique linen distress ink. And you'll notice that when I distress paper, see how my foam applicator pad keeps getting stuck on the outside corner of the page and it wrinkles up my paper? I'm not sure why that always happens to me, but I don't notice that when other people are doing it on video. Maybe it's just me. So I'm just trying to get even coverage around most of this page because I'm not sure how much stamping I'm going to be doing. Okay, so now I'm pulling out my stamp binder, and this is how I catalog my stamps. And I'm just going to choose a few sentiments to use on the scrapbook page. Excuse me. I have another binder where I keep my image stamps. So I've decided to use 2 sets of stamps by Technique Tuesday Allie Edwards and 1 set by, I believe, Hampton Arts. And I just pull those out, and this is how I store them in CD cases. And I'm just flipping through here real quick to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So now I'm going to start putting my page together. And you'll notice that for scrapbook pages I use this yellow ATG gun. And I picked this up at Goodwill for $2.99. I got really lucky because those are normally $89.99, I believe. And I prefer this yellow one over the pink one for larger pages because the tape is wider. But for border strips, things that are thinner like cards, you'll notice that I use the pink ATG. Now I'm thinking about what to do next. When in doubt, lay it out. That's what I always go by when I'm scrapbooking. So I decide to make a photo mat for my 3 photos using this cream colored paper, and I'm just trimming it down to fit. I swear I have the noisiest dog. Abby! So now I'm gluing my photos down, and you'll notice that I don't use my ATG gun for photos. If they're photos that I don't have copies of, I want to be more careful with them, and I'm using acid-free tape. When I'm using the ATG gun, I don't use the acid-free tape because it's cheaper to use the regular kind, and I don't really care if most of my stuff is acid-free, but on some photos I do care, so I use this little adhesive. Okay, so now I'm gluing down my photos. And now I'm going to glue down my border strips. And I'm going to cut the excess off with my scissors. And then I'll do the same thing for the bottom strip. So the border strips are too wide, so I'm just going to trim those down a little bit. And then I realized I need to trim it down a little bit more. And this trimmer is an excellent trimmer, but when you have pieces that are not very wide, it's very difficult to cut them because you can't hold on to the paper underneath that little safety guard. And so it moves around a lot, so it's quite difficult to cut down. So now you'll notice that I pull out my pink HEG gun to adhere this piece down. See how much thinner the tape is on that? And now I'm just kind of fussing with the border strip to make it look like I had pulled this out of a piece of out of a notebook, so it's not so flat. And then I'm going to trim down that top border piece and glue it down. And then I'm going to ruffle the edges of that piece up. Okay, so I'm thinking about doing my stamping next. But I decided to go ahead and pull out my embellishments for the kit, or for the collection. So I pull out the Miscellany pack by October Afternoon. And I'm going to kind of go through this and try to pick out which embellishments I want to use on the page. And I try to do it, one at a time. Excuse me. Without having to rip open the whole package. But in a minute, I just get frustrated and rip the whole thing open and dump it all out. And these little packages aren't made for, they're not really made to open and close and open and close. And this one rips down the sides, so I just grab a Ziploc bag and put all the little pieces back into a Ziploc bag, which is much easier to work with. So I'm just kind of going through here real quick and picking out the pieces that I want and putting the rest back into the bag. And you can see what a nice variety of ephemera and stuff that you get in these little packs. I picked up the Sidewalk collection for a really good price at parttimesally.com, and it's a really good discount scrapbooking store online. So now I'm opening the contents of the flour sack, and I believe that that's a new product that October Afternoon just came out with, and it's a bunch of little die cuts in different shapes and colors and patterns, and I really like it a lot. So I'm going to go through this and pick out a few pieces that I want to use on this layout, and then I'll put the rest back as well. So I'm looking at this little element page with the stickers on it, and I noticed there's a cloud sticker on there. And that reminds me of the felt clouds that I have for cat scrappiness, so I pull a couple of those felt clouds out, and I've decided I'm going to use those on the page. I like to use different textures on my pages. And then I noticed that that bottom strip down there is crooked, so I try to peel it up, but it's not going anywhere. So now I'm trying to think of a way to pull your eye away from the fact that it's crooked down there. And I'll figure that out in just a minute. So if I put these tickets on here at an angle, excuse me, I'm kind of battling allergies right now, so if I put these tickets down here at an angle, it takes your eye away from the fact that the entire piece is crooked, and you can't really tell. So now I'm pulling out a stamp that I'm going to use as part of my title. And I'm going to try to decide what to stamp it on in just a minute. But because it's a new stamp and it's a rather cheap one, it's not made of polymer. It's just an acrylic stamp. I sanded it down real lightly with a nail file. And now I'm pulling out some Jenny Bolin ink and brown sugar. And I'm gonna decide to stamp my title on the back of one of those little flashcards. First, I'm going to adhere the tickets to my page. So when I'm using a new stamp, I always like to stamp it on a piece of scratch paper just to test it out. And it didn't stamp real well, so I pulled out my stamp pad and stamped it again, and then it stamped perfectly. So I just have to remember to use my stamp pad when I stamp with this stamp set. So there's the flashcard, and that's me stamping the title on the back of it. And now I'm pulling out some thickers. And these thickers came with no adhesive on them. I don't know if it was just a mix-up at the factory or what, but I ended up having to put them in a Ziploc bag, and then I have to add my own adhesive to them. So that's going to be the title of my page, Mr. Personality. And I'm just going to tuck that behind the top border strip at an angle, and then put down my thickers. And as soon as I figure out where I want it, I'll adhere that down with a little bit of the ATG. So I'm going to use some it's a Tombow Mono Multi-Glue to glue down my thickers. And then I will also use it to glue down the word strip down at the bottom of the page as well. And now I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue to glue on my felt clouds. And I prefer to use hot glue for felt embellishments. It just seems to work the best. And that's my new glue gun by Aleene's. I really like it. And now I'm going to go through the little flag banners, and I'm going to pull them out and pick out one and wrap it around one of the little toothpicks to make my own little flag. Isn't that cute? I really like those. I think those are adorable. So I'm just going to try to figure out where I want to put it. And then once I find a place, I'm going to put a little bit of the Tombow Mono multi-glue on it and tuck it behind the border. It's kind of leaving a little bit of a bump behind that border strip right there, but I'm going to cover that up in a minute with some embellishments. Sorry guys, I'm starting to lose my voice. So these are the little die cuts from the flour sack, and I'm just going to glue those together and then put those down over where the bump is from the toothpick. And I'm going to do that with some foam dimensionals by Stampin' Up. And I'm going to stamp a word on this little ticket. I'm going to stamp the word boy and use that as an embellishment. And I wanted to stamp it a little bit more to the right, but that's okay. I'm just trying to figure out where I want to put it now. So I'm going to use one of these 10 pins to adhere the ticket down. And I turn it over and I decide that before I glue it down, I'm going to turn it over and try to stamp the word boy on it in better placement. But I didn't stamp it well because I didn't use my stamp pad. So I end up turning it over and using the original stamped image. Abby, you're snoring. So these are the buttons from the collection, and I really like them. And you'll notice that I keep trying over and over to use these buttons on this layout, but it doesn't really work out, so I end up not using them. And now I'm going to do some stamping with another Allie Edwards stamp set. And this stamp says, love you there, or here, love you here, and it has an arrow pointing down. And I'm going to punch that out with a punch, and then adhere it above my middle picture. But first I'm going to use this little heart die cut that came from that flour sack. and glue that on there first. I'm going to use some more Stampin' Up! Dimensionals to put this down. And I decided to put that other little heart on one of the clouds. And I tried to hot glue it, but I had already turned off my hot glue gun, so I just go ahead and use the Tombow Mono multi glue to put that down, and it works fine. So I'm almost done, but I've got this little space on the left-hand side there where the buttons are, and I'm just trying to decide what it just feels like it needs something there. So I'm trying to decide what to do, and I'm thinking I might want to stamp another embellishment or something to put there, but I just can't seem to figure that out right now. And I'm looking at my page and I'm just thinking that spot looks so empty right there. What can I put there? So I grab some Malted Milk ink by Jenny Bolin, and I was hoping that it would show up as a lighter color on that brown, but you can't even see it when you put it on the brown, so I kind of tossed that idea away. And now I'm looking at it and thinking, still trying to think, uh-oh, I came up with an idea. Did you see my finger? That means, hold on, I've got an idea. So I pull out these stickers from my mind's eye. And I had completely forgotten at this point that I still have label stickers and word stickers from the Sidewalks collection that I hadn't even looked at. And I could have been using those. But I find something on one of these My Mind's Eye stickers right there. And before I put it down, I just want to make sure that there's nothing else that would go with it. And I stick it down. And now I'm done. That's my layout. I do end up pulling that sticker up. For the final picture, you'll notice that I put it down on another October Afternoon label sticker. But other than that, my page is done. So thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope that maybe this layout will inspire one of yours. And leave a comment and let me know what you think about this kind of video. And if you like it, then maybe I'll make some more, and I'll try to get better at editing and narrating them. So have a great day, guys, and thanks a lot for watching. Bye.